Nepal, Tzu Chi helps to build prefab classrooms for a school for the underprivileged. We learn what it's like to care for inmates from the perspective of a first-time prison volunteer with Tzu Chi.
Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program in Nepal. Kuleshwar Awas, a secondary school in Kathmandu, home to 700 students, was severely damaged by the earthquake in April. Tzu Chi has decided to build 11 prefab classrooms on behalf of the school, which was specifically set up for students from low-income families and is considered one of the best schools in the country.
Unlike the buildings that stand around it, Kuleshwar Awas Secondary School in Kathmandu suffered greatly in the earthquakes in April, with its tallest building now condemned.
21, 22, 23.
Our building is there. Earthquake has destroyed this building, so we are seated there.
The school has rented a building off campus for some students, while others study in new prefabs built on campus. Before each class, the students say a prayer, giving thanks for their teachers and the chance to go to school. Kuleshwar Awas sits on land donated by the government and was built with community funds. Continued funding is a problem, however, and the school often holds donation drives.
Each student pays 600 rupees. This is very affordable. If one goes to a private school, tuition is 3,000 rupees or more.
Schooling here costs only 600 rupees a month, with poorer families also eligible for scholarships. This system works thanks to a cadre of dedicated teachers who teach for free.
I love the interaction with the students, and seeing them succeed is a blessing for me. When encountering students that are difficult to teach, I simply see it as a chance to grow.
Kuleshwar Awas is one of Nepal's top schools. Standards are high, entrance is competitive, but limited to those from poorer families. Nevertheless, students come from all over Nepal to study here. Volunteers worry that schooling here will be interrupted.
We're going to build 11 prefabs here. Work on them is starting today. We should be able to get them all finished in about a week.
Thanks to these Tzu Chi prefabs, the children of Kuleshwar Awas Secondary School will now have a safe and comfortable place to continue their studies.
Turning to Mozambique, a portion of rice from Taiwan for charity relief has been kept in cargo containers, as the local Tzu Chi office in charge did not have a warehouse in which to store the rice. But recently, a retired Taiwanese businessman decided to donate his old warehouse, so 100 volunteers were mobilized to help carry 4,000 bags of rice into the warehouse.
A crane truck and 100 volunteers have come together to help rice from Taiwan find a new home in Maputo, Mozambique. The new warehouse is the generous donation of retired Taiwanese businessman Chen Chunfa. After some repair work, 4,000 bags of rice are being moved inside.
Master Zhen Yan taught us to pay attention to the smallest detail and do it to the best of our ability while being considerate of others. So we thought, if we were the one who will be eating this rice, how would we want to store it?
As the warehouse has been dusted with limestone powder to keep pests and humidity in check, volunteers wear masks to protect themselves. Forming a human chain, they work from morning till evening. Their arms never stop moving, and neither does their singing.
Eu vi quando de colação aqui. Tem 100 pessoas, né? Quando de colação? Né? Quando de? Eu não vi.
Tardiness is common in Mozambique, and people are often late by as much as 2 hours. But to keep their promise to Tzu Chi, most of the volunteers showed up within 30 minutes of the designated time, so the day's mission could be accomplished as scheduled.
Shishmaref is a traditional Inupiaq Eskimo village. Residents rely heavily on a subsistence lifestyle, hunting and gathering much of their food. However, it seems the residents' reliance in hunting for food have decreased as a direct result of climate change, as the animals travel north about a month and a half earlier than they did in the past. Next, we explore the science behind Alaska's biggest vulnerabilities and what they mean for the native way of life.
I think for a lot of people, it becomes very hard to survive in a setting like this. In the wilderness, away from roads, and therefore cheap transportation, it's also very expensive.
You might notice that everything in the store is doubled, tripled. There's really expensive knives.
The cheapest method of mail is at 54 cents a pound.
It's better to have native food than it is to go to the stores. Like right now, at this time of the year, we do fishing, which is just about a quarter mile up.
The economy that sustained our village for many, many generations been always sea mammal.
We used to gather here every winter because they would spread out during spring season, hunting time. It's really important for survival here to gather our subsistence food.
Well, these people out here may not have a lot of money richness. They have subsistence, and they are very rich in food. To them, having their food for the winter known is very rich.
The weather's been a great big factor in doing hunting activity like we do here. The weather's the boss.
Totally affect our way of gathering subsistence food. Our subsistence, which is a seal, Ugruk walrus, travels north about a month and a half earlier than they did in the past.
When you live doing what we do, the hunts offshore and things like that, then you come to respect Mother Nature pretty quickly.
Come on, Tally. Well, Alaska's ground zero for looking at the effects of climate change. About 2/3 of our state is covered by permafrost, and it underlies our forests.
Like the name implies, permafrost is a permanently frozen layer of soil that sits below the ground here. And trapped inside it is
soil carbon, the amount of carbon locked in permafrost soils. And this carbon has accumulated over thousands to even tens of thousands of years, and it's been sequestered, been locked into this permafrost. And now with thawing permafrost, emitting that carbon as trace gases to the atmosphere could greatly amplify our contribution. Whether we be urban people living in Fairbanks, or you're a native dependent on subsistence living along the coast, it's part of our landscape that could contribute to the whole global climate system.
This is Percy.
Hi, Percy. This is Katie with Microcom calling in regards to exceed satellite internet. Does anybody in the household watch video content like with Netflix or YouTube?
Not that much. The internet connection is so slow, you're best off not even trying to do some of these things. I've seen so much change as far as our culture that I'm one of the few left in the village here that is eloquent in our language. When the language goes, I'm told that the culture will soon follow.
You have this culture that is important and needs to be continued. It's important in that manner. Can I put $1 on it? No. Can I put a face on it? Yes. It's the face of Shishmaref.
Well, it's our culture. We're hopes to protect this whole island so that our children, our grandchildren, and their children can also experience this lifestyle, what we're living now. I want to say tradition and it's the art of survival.
Next, we bring you a story of love and filial piety. 18-year-old Chen Siwei from Taichung, Taiwan, has been caring for her mother, who is partially paralyzed after being diagnosed with a rare brain disease. While teenagers her age are enjoying life to the fullest, Siwei's time is spent looking after her mother and working part-time jobs. However, the girl says she does not mind, as she would do anything for the people whom she loves.
18-year-old Chen Siwei, who just tested into college, is the youngest of 3 children. Since young, she has shouldered the responsibility of looking after her mother, who became paralyzed after being diagnosed with a rare brain illness. It hasn't been easy for sure, but my mother is important to me. No matter what obstacles come our way, we still need to face them. As Siwei's 2 older sisters are working away from home, tending to her mother's daily needs has been Siwei's job since young. Children her age are out having fun with their friends. She should be able to do the same, right? But because of my condition, she has to take care of me and isn't able to go anywhere. I feel that I owe her. Although Siwei's mother is sad to see her daughter having to give up her life to look after her, Siwei says there's nothing she'd rather do more than to spend time with her mother. If I go anywhere that is too far, I won't be able to keep an eye out for my mother. My close friends know about my situation at home and are very accommodating. Juggling home, school, and work all without complaint, Siwei's demonstration of filial piety was recognized by Taichung City, which awarded her the Taichung City Young Heroes Award. Although struck down by illness, Siwei's mom says the thoughtfulness and consideration of her daughter still makes her one of the most blessed people in the world.
TIMA members worldwide provide free medical care to people who do not have access to medical resources. Next, we join TIMA members in Indonesia and Taiwan as they help patients in need in their respective area.
To provide free medical services where they're needed most, members of TIMA's Central Taiwan chapter conducted home visitations in out-of-the-way regions for patients who cannot make it to a free clinic.
There's always a way out. Quake survivors in Nepal lost their homes and do not have food, but they still hang in there.
Having taken part in disaster relief work in Nepal, Dr. Ji Bangjie shared with his patients how quake survivors are coping. Another volunteer, Ling Jixian, who was massaging patients at a free clinic, lost his eyesight due to a bacterial infection a few years ago. Ling remains optimistic, however, and jokingly said he's still very lucky.
Accumulate good deeds rather than not doing enough. I think I've done too little, so I need to do more.
Also at this free clinic, volunteer Cho Dongwen made balloons for children to help calm their nerves. TIMA doctor Wang Baijing cares for patients the way one treats one's old friends.
The work is fun and the scenery here is good with fresh air, so I enjoy doing this.
These medical volunteers have again seized the occasion to serve the needy and in return gain joy and a sense of fulfillment. About 80 residents came to a military hospital in Medan with cataracts. 14-year-old Ramadani, who has had cataracts since he was 1.5 years old, also came to seek treatment. After undergoing cataract surgery, Ramadani is still adjusting to his new vision. But his father was thankful for Ramadani's new future.
I'm grateful that my son can undergo surgery for free. Finally, he can see like other children.
Setelah pasien didapat, diinventarisir, baru dilaporkan ke kita.
The military and Tzu Chi work together to hold this free clinic. Our military doctors and team of doctors help the residents deal with their health problems together.
Itu dalam rangka kerjasama penanganan yang kita lakukan ini.
With their vision improved, patients can now explore different opportunities in life and are enjoying a brighter future.
Many people frown at the thought of visiting a prison and much less the idea of volunteering inside a prison, but caring for inmates is a part of Tzu Chi's work, so today we join a first-time prison volunteer and see what it is like working behind bars.
Welcome to your blessed prison time.
不知道长什么样子吗？那不知道他们是什么？对啊，会不会？嘿，你来冲手！
This is my first time here, so I am a bit scared. Typically, when you think of those people who have committed serious crimes, an image of big mean bully comes to mind.
I saw her looking around everywhere when she first came inside, as if she was on alert.
好，各位亲爱的同学，大家好。
Let me read you a letter which should inspire and move you. No matter what parents do, they will influence their family, right? Achi, don't you agree? Right? What about you, kid?
When I saw how they interacted with the other sisters, I began to let go of the fear that I had initially.
还有这位师姐叫做建芳，
好，同学好。
现在请我们的同学。
My child, at about 5 years ago when he was a 9th grader, we found out that he had leukemia.
When we were on the van, she asked me how she was to behave, as they are all gangsters here. I replied, just behave as you normally would.
Before, extraction was done on the spine. Well, actually, it wasn't exactly the spine, but so-called iliac crest. It's right around our waist. It doesn't protrude outward, but sinks inward. Yes, you can feel it. See? It's right over here. That's where they inserted the needle.
I think she did an excellent job. I didn't know so much about the topic.
年龄是我们是限制在45岁以内，超过45岁就不能缺。
I've got a question. What if one of us was put on a registry before we came in, and is now here in prison? What will you do then?
这个好问题哦。
Thanks to Sister Jian Fang, I now want to share my love and help save other people's lives.
I was gladdened by their response. That shows they were really listening.
At first, we were just strangers, but the sisters have made us feel that they genuinely care about us. Now, with love in our hearts, we're not as conceited as we were before.
To be a Tzu Chi volunteer means to do the right thing, no matter what it is.
I have learned a lot from Sister Hui Zhu. I think if I were to come here permanently, I first have to properly prepare myself.
You guys behave, all right? Don't worry about me. I will behave better than any of you, so be good.
Another part of Tzu Chi's work is helping care recipients with mobility or age issues clean up their home. Care recipients will often initially refuse the volunteers' offer, but in almost all the cases, the volunteers' love and persistence eventually wins out. Let's now take a look at a recent cleanup effort in Taipei, Taiwan.
These cramped quarters are what 80-year-old grandfather An calls home. Volunteers have been by his side for years, but it was only recently that he allowed them to clean his home.
His family is all over in China, so he's alone here in Taiwan. This year, he finally allowed us to help him clean up.
With garbage everywhere, volunteers first need to clear a route to the door. Initially refusing the volunteers' offer of help, it was only after Typhoon Salvador left many of his possessions waterlogged and moldy that the senior agreed to their help. However, his insistence on overseeing the cleanup slowed the effort down considerably.
We need to break down the cabinet. You want to take out the cabinet? We need to take everything out before we can clean up in here. Then we'll sort the recyclables. Then you can see what you want to keep.
The cleanup effort is joined by volunteers, young and old alike, who are uncompromising in their efforts to leave the senior with a clean and healthy home.
The young work together and we older volunteers as well. This way, things go faster.
The amount of garbage that this solitary senior has accumulated is more than I've seen on some community recycling days.
At the end of the day, a new house is born, and volunteers can now relax knowing grandfather An is safe and sound.
Staying in Taiwan, a family in弥陀district of Kaohsiung lives in a dilapidated house, but lack the resources or manpower to repair their home, as 5 family members are either physically or mentally disabled. Upon learning of the family's plight, Tzu Chi volunteers mobilized to repair their home.
Rebars are exposed through the cracks on the ceilings, and water seeps into the house through damaged walls. The house does not even have a toilet to use, since the water tank is not working. Tzu Chi volunteers came to help upon receiving a borrowhead's call for assistance. The volunteers tore down the damaged ceiling while repairing the water tank and toilet. They then brought second-hand furniture, so the place finally looks like home.
The ground level is low and the place floods when it rains, so we've elevated the ground. The borrowhead got marble flooring tiles from a building materials supplier. We've also gone to places to look for second-hand furniture.
After 4 months of repairs, the dilapidated house is now more like home. Tzu Chi volunteers celebrated the housewarming occasion by sharing glutinous rice balls and hope the Fang family can start a new chapter of their lives from today.
The Tzu Chi Youth Orchestra from Long Island, New York is on a musical tour in Taiwan. Among their stops is one at the Jingsi Hall in Taipei's Wanhua, where the students participated in a variety of cultural activities. We will leave you with these images at the end of our program. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Bye.